Some of you know this, some of you don't. Hello, good morning, Europe, and good afternoon or evening, Asia. Part webinar about APIs and secure societies. It's a part of a series of webinars that we organize for the Inspire Hackathon 2018. The Inspire Hackathon is taking place right now, virtually, but we will meet together in the Inspire conference in Antwerp, 18th to the 22nd of September. But before we go ahead and start, so that people can get on here, I thought we should make a very quick tour de table when it comes to weather. So we do a time Earth observation here. So we can start with you, Karel. How's the weather in Czech Republic today?
I think that nice temperature is pleasant, not very hot, not cold, partly sunshine. So I think the weather is very nice for starting weekend, yes, in reality.
Yes, it's a Friday. How is it German today?
Yeah, I think it's we have changed, Karel and me, today. Yesterday we had some clouds, and now today we have blue. We have sunshine today, and we will have 29 degrees today. Very hot.
Wow. And Lorenzino, how's the situation? Where are you? You're in.
Yeah, I'm in the north of Italy, close to Milano.
Where are you?
Yeah. I'm in Varese, close to Milano, in the north of Italy. We have 4 lakes close to our place here at the Joint Research Center in Ispra. The weather is fine. It's not raining. So you can see that if you come here, that the environment is very green. So we have a bit of water, but today is wonderful. The temperature is very nice, not too hot, and the sky is blue.
Sounds lovely. And Anca, you're in Madrid, right?
Exactly. It's funny to be after Lorenzino because we have no green areas here. It's somewhere in Madrid, so everything is really, really hot.
Everything is hot. So I'm Bente, Lilja, by the way, and I am in the Arctic right now. And today, again, we have blue skies and beautiful weather. So I'm looking forward to enjoy a blue landscape. We are by the ocean. And today, after a webinar, there's a weekend. So I think we start the program for today. We are going to talk about various ways to combine data together using APIs. And we will start, before before we go dive into that, we will learn more about Inspire Hackathon. Then we will be introduced to a plethora of APIs. You will hear that from Lorenzino. And dive into one of these APIs by Wolfgang. And finally, you'll see and learn how you can use you will be inspired to use open data to create and help support securities by Anca. And we try to stay within the hour for this webinar, but depending on how active you are as attendees, please do write your name or your location, where you come from. That would be very great if you could do that, because we have a chat box where you can ask questions during the webinar. We'll try to accommodate or try to answer your questions in between the presentations. And we also do have a Q&A session towards the end where we can go deeper into discussions. So that's the program for today. We will do a tour de table before we go into the program, before I let the speaker go ahead. So we do the same round. So Karel, can you introduce yourself and tell people where you're from and what you do?
Okay, my name is Karel. I am from Czech Republic. I am working for Plan for All, but also for other organizations as a project manager. And I think that I probably could be considered as godfather of Inspire Hackathon.
Absolutely. Wolfgang, how about you? You have to unmute yourself, Wolfgang. Unmute.
Yeah, I can also a little bit louder.
Yes, now we can hear you.
My name is Wolfgang Ksoll. I'm here in Berlin at Viderum. We are a company of the Open Knowledge International, and we are building the catalog in the NextGEOSS project based on SatCen open source solution. And yes.
Yes, thank you, Wolfgang. And Lorenzino.
Yes, I'm Lorenzino Vaccari. I'm Italian, I'm a computer scientist, and I work for the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. I have some experience in open data and in geographic information systems. And lately, let's say early, as I will show in a few minutes, about application programming interfaces.
Excellent. And Anca, a few words about you too.
Yes, good morning to all. My name is Anca Popescu. I'm a project officer with the European Union Satellite Center. I'm in the Research, Technology Development and Innovation Unit. And here we deal with analyzing satellite imagery to get relevant information for our stakeholders.
Excellent. And I'm Bente, and I have been in the Earth Observation communities for a couple of years now, and I'm member and partner of the NextGEOSS project. I'm also a proud member of the Plan for, and that's why I'm co-organizing the Inspire Hackathons. So with that, let's hear more about Inspire Hackathon in the first place. Go ahead, Karel, and tell us. You are going to share your screen with us?
Yes, I'm
so
looking
you can
for
your presentation.
I'm looking for the screen. It seems like here. Oh,
yes, and while
do you see my screen? Okay. So I will start with some introduction of Inspire Hackathon and also with some explanation how to participate on Inspire Hackathon. As you can see that there is a number of organizations support Inspire Hackathon, and our community is growing, and I hope that soon I will be not able to put all logos on my slide, and that we will continue with growing our effort. Inspire conference in 2016, and from this time we make some progress and movement. You can see that some people who were the hacks on the first hackathon, and at the beginning I would like to mention that Inspire Hackathon is a little different type of hackathon. Normally, you have connected hackathons with students, could be some startups and other. The message of our hackathon is to work together, and the main yes.
Karel, sorry to interrupt you, but it seems like we lost your slides, your presentation. Can you try to reshare them?
Okay, I see that it came out. It's interesting. Just a moment.
Yeah.
Here. So do you see? Okay.
Let's see.
So
Yes, we see it.
So the main focus of Inspire Hackathon is on sustainability. Could be European Union research, but not only European Union research. We try to extend this, and we are trying to connect different teams and initiatives, and we are also trying to help to make sustainable effort of previous projects to improve the situation and really turn the result of previous project into the real life. So here is my most important message, that Inspire Hackathon is not event, it is process. We are not organizing separate hackathon, but we are trying to organize set of events which are connected. Sometimes teams has chance to continue on their development, and people, we are trying to connected people and make some long time connection among people, and we are organizing Inspire Hackathon not only on Inspire conference, but we are organizing set of satellite Inspire Hackathon, like was on OGC technical meeting or in Prague. The Inspire Hackathon ensure continuity of open data integration, and it is also important for capacity building, yes, and education, because it is chance. I mentioned that we are focused on experts, but in many cases also students and young people are connecting the team of experts, and I think that it is good for them to work with experienced people. So we are using Inspire as a platform, but important is the set of satellite hackathons, and our interest is to build community not only in Europe but beyond. And on previous hackathons we already had the hackers from, for example, Africa. Inspire Hack are not limited on Inspire, yes, because we are using Inspire conference as some central point, but we are not limited on Inspire topic. For example, we do a lot for agriculture, which is not directly part of Inspire. And I would like also stress that Inspire Hack is not limited on Europe. Here you can see the project which started on some previous hack, and when we start to develop open land use for Africa, and we believe that we will be able to continue. You can see that only part of Africa is covered, but we hope that we will be able with other hack and other event to continue in the development of this and to cover all Africa, and could be with this open land use all world. So, how to participate? I think that it is important to understand, because Inspire Hack is not focused to meet for one day on Inspire conference, but Inspire Hack is focused to work virtually 1 or 2 months before Inspire conference, and to remotely and virtually prepare some ideas and build some project. So the first for you is important to go to web pages of Plan for All, and we are step by step publishing any ideas of the project which was already prepared, and you can learn what people are preparing, what they would like to do. So you can learn about potential pilot which you can join. Of course, you can start with your own pilot also. You can go to our table and analyze available API which are offered by different organizations, and you can thinking how this API can fit to your work, to your needs. So this is second thing. What is also possible for you, in some cases you have also your API, and you can go here, and you can register your API, and this API will appear on Previous table, and other people will be informed about the possibility to use your API. If you have API, you have idea. First things what you have to do is to register yourself on this address. Presentation will be shared, so you will be able to find easy where you have registered yourself. And after registration, you will receive access to workspace for Inspire Hack. It is simple Google document where people are putting their teams, their ideas, and you have two chances. You can go through this document and put your name and extend the idea of running projects about your ideas, and you can contact coordinator of this project, or coordinator can contact you, and you can start exchange information about your project. Or you can introduce your own activity, put the title of your projects, your name, and your basic idea. And these ideas will be available not only on this workspace, which is limited, but we will then publish your ideas again on the web pages of Plan for All, and we will also distribute this idea through the social media, so other people will have a chance to see that there are some idea, and if they will be interested to cooperate, they will be able to join your effort. So I think that it is all from my presentation. If there will be some question, I am available till 11:45, so you can write your question eventually, and Bente will transfer this question to me.
Yes, thank you so much, Karel. If there are any questions, please do them in the chat box. And just had a question from Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Welcome here. If the presentation will be made available, and yes, indeed, they will. We will post them on the Plan.eu webpage, where we have dedicated several pages for the Inspire Hackathon, and we will keep on updating it with the latest news for our hackathon there, including these presentations, and also a video recording or cuts and bits and pieces of this the webinar, so you can enjoy watching them again afterward. So with that, let me call upon Lorenzino now. I think it's time to show us more about APIs, the different types of APIs that we have, and that we want you as hackers to play with. So Lorenzino, the floor is yours.
Thanks a lot, Bente. Good morning to everybody. As I was saying during the presentation, I'm a computer scientist. I'm working for the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. I'm very happy to be part of this group and to contribute to the Inspire Hackathon. Thanks to Bente and Karel to invite me for the webinar as well. So I hope you will be participating to the hackathon and to see you at the Inspire conference. What I will go to present this morning is related. I try to share my screen, okay? It's related. I will talk about the GRC a bit and what our unit, the unit where I'm working, is doing. I will present the study I'm involved to, I'm leading, and I will give some motivation on why we are participating to this webinar and to the Inspire Hackathon. And I will share some resources in the last part of the presentation. Okay. Some words about the Joint Research Center, which is the European Commission Science and Knowledge Service, from an independent and scientific point of view. I lost sharing my screen. Okay. The GRC B6 Digital Economy Unit is the working place where I work, and the main aim of this unit is investigating on the, let's say, the ongoing digital revolution and on how ICT are affecting the economy and the digital transformation of governments. Our unit is working since a lot of years ago, since the beginning on the INSPIRE directive, and it is the unit that organized the INSPIRE conference. Okay, a few words about the study we are conducting. We started in January 2018. It's a collaboration between the Joint Research Center and the Directorate General Connect of the European Commission, and the complete title is the Digital Government APIs, Application Programming Interfaces, the Road to Value-Added Open API-Driven Services. This study is supporting some policies and some documents that we are developing at the European Commission, and in particular this EU Government Action Plan that we started in 2016 and will last till 2020, and we are doing in collaboration with all the member states. And in particular, to implement this action plan, we will use a specific interoperability framework, the IEF, which is, let's say, a framework based on different layers, technical, semantic, legal, and organizational layers. We are also we would also like to contribute to the once only principle, which is one of the main policies that is started here at the European Commission. And we would like to reinforce the building block approach adopted in the Connecting European Facilities program. I put some links that will be shared at the final slide as well. So let's go in deep in the study. We have mainly two questions: why government should invest resources in setting up an API ecosystem? And the second question is that, if yes, which government action should be taken in developing government APIs? We structured the study in three phases. The first one, which is the phase that we are now, is to understand the state of play of the API landscape in Europe and for the private companies and all around the world as well, to understand the current trends and which are the horizon of the application programming interfaces, especially for the governmental, let's say, institutions. In the second phase that also we started in this period is to understand which are the key enablers, drivers, barriers, which are the risks and the actions to mitigate these risks when adopting the application programming interfaces. At the same time, we would like to identify the social and economic impacts of these adoptions, especially from the governmental point of view. At the next year, let's say, we will have the third phase, and when we understand the state of the art, we understand the different aspects, we would like to give some recommendations, the policy recommendation, and propose some domains, like, for example, the geospatial domains and thematic areas to focus on for the APIs. Okay, we started in January, we started to study some specific cases all around Europe at the different governmental level, at the city level, regional, and national level. We had, for example, a specific case in Denmark for the addresses. In the first part, we focused on the geospatial domain, because the study was conducting within the ISA Square program and the ALICE action in particular. And then we went to the specific city, the Amsterdam, which has a single portal providing the REST API methods, let's say a list of REST APIs. And then we go to a different domain, the utilities domain, to understand how they implemented the APIs and why, because there was a gas explosion in 2004, and they decided at a certain point it is not possible to continue like this. We have to share all our information, and we will adopt these application programming interfaces to share datasets and services within the public administrations. The next, we will study also, we plan to have other case studies all around Europe, in London, Ireland, and so on, and also to study some environments, like, for example, the FireWare environment for the Internet of Things, and the European data portal, for example, and the global biodiversity information facility. So we will go at the global level as well. what we discover in our few cases that we analyzed, that when implemented, the application programming interfaces, when implemented by the government, their usage is very huge. We have, for example, just to mention one case for the city of Madrid, they have APIs for the transportation, their transportation systems. They started in 2008, and since they started, they discovered that a lot of developers outside the government, the private companies and startups, they are using their APIs. They have 2,500 developers registered into the system, and these 100 of apps they developed is from the private point of view. And actually, 80% of the requests from the datasets to the transportation system come from the private developing, let's say, applications. And this is very important for us. This is linked to the economics aspects I was talking before. Okay, but let's go and talk about the Inspire Hackathon. Why we are here? Why we are interested in the Inspire Hackathon? And because we are interested in some aspects. So we would like to know how to integrate the Inspire, GEOSS, Copernicus data with other domains using web APIs, and how this integration can create a value-added application, like, for example, creating private companies' application programming interfaces that are based both on open data and open APIs from the government. But also, we would like to understand which are the challenges and solutions that are around, especially for implementing cross-boundary, so between the different member states of Europe, and cross-sector interoperability between geospatial, for example, and non-geospatial domains. We are also interested in technical aspects, which are the emerging technologies. We know we are used to use the OGC standard, for example, but there are some emerging technologies that are used from the private companies since a lot of years ago, and how these new technologies are used by the new emergent, let's say, applications. Okay, just to give an example, we discovered that the OGC recently, they published the Web Feature Service 3.0 specification. This Web Feature Service is a kind of they break the rules with the previous version of Web Feature Service and exposes true REST interface. And it uses an OpenAPI definition instead the OGC specific capabilities documents, for example. And this is an innovative, let's say, way to expose application programming interfaces. This can also be secured using security schemes that are commonly used in the web today, for example, the OAuth 2. This is quite a novel, let's say, that is proposed by the OGC. Another thing that we discover is, for example, the catalog, the GEOSS catalog is also exposing OpenAPI and REST APIs. And here I tried just to make a query to the OpenAPIs, and the result, for example, returned that in my research, we had 5 records and so on. It's a kind of CSW service, but in a new, proposed in a new way with this new technology, let's say. So, which are the resources that are available for the hackathon, or the ones that we discover we would like you to use or to analyze, at least, that can support the developing application from your side? Of course, we have the traditional way for the data that are available. Some useful and well-known resources are available, like the Inspire Geo portal, the GEOSS portal, and the European data portal for the datasets that are not only geospatial datasets and so on. For the APIs, there exist some resources, including the one that Karel was mentioning before, which is a list of specific APIs proposed by the Hackathon website. But we have also private companies' API registries and public institutions' API registries. I'm going to give a couple of examples of these registries. But first, I would like to mention that the list of identified EU government APIs that you can find on the website of the Hackathon, the Inspire Hackathon, we contribute with a number of governmental APIs, and this list comes from different resources, including, for example, the ProgrammableWeb API directory that I will show in a few minutes, and from previous studies that we made at the European Commission. Okay, I just here, I just summarize some of the resources you can check, you can consult to find APIs. We have this ProgrammableWeb directory, as I was saying before, that contains more than 20,000 kind of APIs, including, for example, the well-known Google APIs, Yahoo APIs, Netflix APIs, Amazon, and so on. We have also the Mashape and RapidAPIs. Yesterday, I discovered that these two companies, they made a unique company, and actually from both the websites, you can find the same APIs. They have more than 8,000 APIs. We have also minor website. I just put some here just for references that IBM is also doing something about the API. Let's say matchmaking, they call this, how to find the APIs and how to combine them in a kind of semi-automatic way, plus some experimental and one old API website that I was checking and found in the last months, let's say in the last days. Here I just put the example of the ProgrammableWeb website, which is not only a directory of APIs, but this is an entire, let's say, ecosystems built around the APIs. You can find courses and you can find tutorials, definitions, you can learn about APIs and so on. And it is also a kind of a journal, a blog and paper collection. I suggest you, if you are interested on the word of APIs, to subscribe to the newsletter, which is quite interesting. And there are a lot of news, especially for the private companies, the startups, and so on. So we found that as I was saying, there are more than 20,000 API registered into this website. We discover, we have, let's say, a dialogue with them. We know them. They share with us more than 700 governmental APIs all around the world. And we extracted 100 of APIs that we put in the list that you can find on the Inspire Hackathon website. These are the European ones. As you can see, there is a lot of work to do, because on the 20,000 APIs, only 100 are from the government, European Union government. And this is quite, I mean, from one point of this means that we are a bit behind the trend, but from the other point, this means that we have, let's say, a space to do something more. Okay, and then here I put this Mashape RapidAPI's marketplace. This is a quite different website. It's a marketplace in the sense that if you develop your own API, you can put in the marketplace and you can declare your business model, if it is free, if it is premium, freemium, and so on. And actually, there are a lot of developers engaged in this website as well. So I suggest you to have a look if you want to know more about the API marketplace. It's quite interesting also from the economic point of view. I put also one of the public API registry that, in my opinion, is one of the most developed in Europe, and this is the French government. They decided to share their APIs at the governmental level, and you can see them at the left part of the screen. On the right part of the screen, you can see the public services that are that uses these APIs, and this is quite interesting. So you can see that behind the scene what is developed, what has been developed and shared by the government, and then which kind of public services they are going to give to the citizens. So this is the final interface, the user interface to the citizens. And each public service is linked to the APIs that are supporting these public services. This is quite interesting for us to understand the added value, as I was saying before. Okay, this is the last slide. Actually, I put here a collection of all the references I was presenting during the presentation. And of course, if you have some questions, you can ask in the chat. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you so much, Lorenzino. That was a whole package of very interesting APIs and a good overview, API length. So for the potential in the Inspire Hackathon, I think this is This is diving into a gold mine of interesting technologies and tools. So let's hope that you are inspired by this. What we are doing in the Inspire Hackathon this year is making it all work together in practice, and using an API is one of the important tools to make it work together in practice. And we will go now to have a closer look at one of the APIs, and that will be Wolfgang Ksoll going to introduce the OpenSearch as used in the NextGEOSS project. So go ahead, Wolfgang.
Yeah, thank you. I will just have to. Yeah, okay. So I will give you an overview how we use OpenSearch API, which was mentioned already in NextGEOSS, and therefore I will give you an overview of what we are doing in NextGEOSS overall. We have on the left side, you see our data sources that are necessary for Earth observation applications, and that are satellite images, radar, laser, and so on, and that are data from civil society, in situ data, and all these data sources we harvest. That means we catch the metadata of these sources and put it into a catalog, and this catalog is based on SatCen. This is open source, and Viderum provide services with SatCen. Theoretically, we could use metadata standards. We have made some tests with GeoDCAT AP with ISO. We have some applications which use it, or yes, applications. And we look at DCAT from the European Union. But what we saw here in the really lot of metadata is that nobody up to date is using these metadata standards. So we have individual harvesters to program, and then we store all these metadata in our catalog, and then we have several use it. You can use it with a normal graphical user interface, with a web browser. You can use it with a OpenSearch API, which I will explore deeper in the next step. And you can here make a machine-to-machine communication. And the main thing what we have in NextGEOSS is that we have pilot applications from different topics which are using just these metadata. We have 10 internal pilots in our project, and we are onboarding now the first external pilot which comes from marine. Let's take here for agriculture an example. We have tested this with Vito, and the thing is that Vito has applications for agriculture which needs some satellite photos from Sentinel-2 mission, and they ask the catalog, please give me data from March to August, which are related in a special Belgium region, where I give you the bounding box, and then the catalog finds a lot of metadata and gives it over to the pilot, and then the pilot can download the data, the source data, raw data, resources to the application, and the agriculture will calculate in a cloud application time series and give advice to farmers how much water, how much nutrition would be necessary to improve the crop to the optimum. And we have heard some numbers of 15% of improvement is possible. And then this maybe topics here are not the end of our doing, but we have to look on the economic effects, or let's say benefits, because our target communities are from civil society, government, and business. So we have a complete flow of data from the origin to the end user usage, and one part here is only the OpenSearch interface to make it sure that here in the cloud applications can use it automatically. So let's have a look at OpenSearch. Something was told. Oh, I've forgotten something. Excuse me. We have an infrastructure here for this ecosystem. We have a single sign-on. We have a service desk and the monitoring. And we had applied the OAuth here to our beta release of the Data Hub, which we are in now. It's a little bit strange to use OAuth to hide open data, but we will remove it in the final release. And what we did to ramp up here easily the pilots is that we do not use OAuth to hide the open data here on our OpenSearch interface. So if you come to the graphical user interface, you have to have an account which you get here from the service desk, but the OpenSearch interface is open. It costs a lot of money to apply these OAuth to make a very complicated access to open data, and this is maybe interesting for private usage, but not for open data. So let's go here. OpenSearch is a standard which comes originally from Amazon. You can see it at opensearch.org. What I'm talking about is that we have some extensions from the OGC for space and time, and we have applied them so that you can do things like give me the bounding box and give me pictures from March to April, and then you can access the server with normal HTTPS. Normally, in an open data world, no account is needed, and technically it is not. Then you can, the first query you make is to download a description document, what data are there and in what forms and so on. We will see an example. And if you have downloaded the description document, you can select for collections, where you can make a two-step search supported. Two-step search is supported. That means I have a collection here for, let's say, 7 pictures of North Belgium of January, and then you can select in the collection what data you want to see really, and then you can make a detailed query, and at the end you get an XML answer for atom feed, as it's called in this area. So this is the process how you go to the OpenSearch interface. You download the description document. You can select collections. In the collections, you can select data sets, and then you can get an XML answer to satisfy your query. Here you see an example. You do not have to learn it by heart. The pictures are in the documentation, and also the slides will be available. But here you see it's normal XML language, so you can a little bit look by hand on it, but you better should use some clients or even privately programmed programs to interpret this description of the description document. So what here for the default search parameters has to be set in the OGC interface. You can here see what I said with the geo box. That means the bounding box. You have here a universal a UID, universal ID, which is a single one for every object in every application you use it. So you can look by the UID. Then you have the possibility to ask for start time, end time, and you can question where the source is comes from. And what I do not see is a license. This is good. Open data and license do not fit together. Okay, so here have you an example answer from the atom feed, and you see it's again normally XML, and you have to put a little bit of semantic to this syntax, and then you are fine, and we found our beloved data sets. And we made an intensive system integration test because we are now in the preparing of a production system for Vito, which is one part of the pilots. And just to be honest, we took something about a week so that we get the harvester code and the understanding of the data in the SatCen and in the usage of the application get in sync. There were some errors in it, and then there were some different understanding of the meaning of the code, and this was done in a week with a ongoing Skype session all the time of the 3 developer teams, but it's running. So what I can say from our experience is OpenSearch is a useful tool for a lot of applications in the world. It's not too complicated. It's you must not always use binary programs. You can some debugging do by normal looking at it in textual form. And so I think we will have several more pilots who will join the OpenSearch train, and that's what that is the most thing I wanted to talk to you about today. So thank you, and I will give it free. Yeah. Bente, it's your turn. She's away. This is a great silence. If you have any questions, yeah. Okay, Bente, your turn.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Did you lose me?
No.
Okay, so no. Karel is going to leave. So if you have any questions for him, please ask those in the chat box very quickly. If not, I will give the to Anca. Anca, can you start your presentation? Yes.
Yes. Let me just share my screen.
And while Anca is sharing a screen, please do write questions in the box. We will be happy to answer the best we can.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. Good. So hello to everyone. My role here is a bit different in the sense that I will have a presentation more focused on one particular domain, and that is secure societies domain. We are here in the European Union Satellite Center, and maybe you know, but the main mission of the Satellite Center is to provide relevant information coming from geospatial data, mainly geospatial data, to relevant stakeholders. So just to give a brief overview of my presentation today, I will introduce the space and security domain just to give you an idea of what we are dealing with and what is the usual workflow and how information is distributed and how data comes into play. What are the main objectives and challenges of this domain, and particularly because there are many actors involved in secure societies, but we are one of the players focusing on space and security. So what are the objectives and challenges for this particular domain? Then I will make a brief overview of some relevant open data for secure societies and data that is exposed and services exposed via APIs. And finally, I will launch a small challenge for the hackathon. So the reason why we are participating in the Inspire hackathon. Just to go briefly over the main idea of the space and security domain. I will start from the upper left corner, mainly speaking about the users and decision makers. So the most important aspect of space and security is the final user. So the last mile, so to say, meaning that the final user being either EU member states, EU operations and missions, international organizations dealing with several societal challenges, or authorities and agencies, for instance, border control or coastal monitoring. All these users, all these communities of users are in need of relevant data and relevant information in order to take good decisions for society. So in this context, geospatial intelligence providers such as SatCen, for instance, come into play, and they provide to these users the relevant information that they need. How do they do that? Well, there is a request for information. So there is a need first coming from the community of users. There is this request for information, meaning that relevant stakeholders are interested to know what is happening in a certain area, or what could be happening in a certain area, or any other type of information that could be relevant for the future, not necessarily just for the present. They make these requests, and the geospatial intelligence provider of services and products analyzes the request, identifies what is the relevant data, what are the relevant tools to be used, accesses that data somehow, processes the data, analyzes it, and produces a meaningful report or a meaningful product. It can be something very simple, or it can be something very complex. It can be a product that is related to a very large area, for instance, a product related to flooding of a very big area, let's say, or something very specific related to a smaller or very local event. Now, this data comes from several sources, and it's not just data that comes into play, but it's also the technologies that are used to access it, to understand it, to display it, to process it, to extract knowledge, basically, from the data. The various sources of data are either very high in the sky, into space, or airborne, or even on the ground, so even local in situ measurements. But there is a gap, and this gap can be filled by APIs. The gap comes from the fact that these several data sources are distributed. Not all of them are readily available. Not all of them are ready for analysis. And many of the tools that are to be used are need to be customized. So the objectives of the space and security domain in general are to provide timely and relevant geospatial products and services by exploiting the resources coming from EO sources and collateral data. When I say collateral data, I mean either social media or news, or any other type of information provided by citizens, or any other type of measurement that could be relevant to describe a certain event. And the main challenge, let's say, is that speaking about secure societies means speaking not just about conflicts, let's say, but it's also encompassing 7 essential dimensions of society. And these are political, and this is the one that people are mostly associating with security, but it's not just that. It's economic conditions, meaning that bad economic conditions can be triggers for security issues, food availability, personal development, personal stability, health systems, of course, the impact on the environment. As I was mentioning earlier, floods or drought can be a very important trigger for security events, and of course, the community. So security is actually quite a complex topic, and we are trying to address these seven dimensions in order to contribute to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals. What are the main challenges? I was speaking about many sources of data, many different sources of data, and the typical terminology is big data used in this domain. So we are dealing, of course, with a high volume of data. When we are speaking about geospatial information, it is not very easy to handle geospatial data, and especially it's not so easy to handle the volume that is coming not only because the images themselves are very large, but also because there are a lot of sources of data, a lot of formats, a lot of different measurements that are actually included in the data and are intrinsic in the data, and they have to be accounted for. And recently, and I like this very much, I saw that in the big data terminology, the 5 V's are complemented by visualization. And when we talk about geospatial information, visualization is very important because it gives you the possibility to think about how to represent data in the most relevant way for your stakeholders. So there are some key questions that we need to answer. And that is, what are the main data sources, the relevant data sources that we can use, how should they be integrated, how should data be collected, how should data be interpreted, and I would add, how should data be packaged into a relevant way for the stakeholders. So why would we use open data for secure societies? Traditionally, in security applications, we use very high resolution imagery, and that is because many times we are trying to look at very punctual events, at things that happen locally, and that is we need a lot of we need very high resolution, but this data comes at a cost. It's not always available. It's not always possible to get very high resolution over very large areas, and the frequency of acquisition is also one of the limitations. Comparable with this, or comparing it to this, is free and open data, which may come from several sources. Some examples are here, like Copernicus satellites, EU databases and portals, citizen science, and so on. Now, of course, open data is not offering the same spatial resolution as the commercial data and governmental systems. However, it can be of great value for security applications and for secure societies if we consider that it is free, it is, of course, fully open, it is always available, there are many data sources that can be used, and even if maybe one data source is not relevant by itself, then in combination with other data sources, it can become very relevant. It's suitable for high coverage, and it has a higher frequency of acquisition. I will go briefly over some examples of data sources that are exposed via APIs, data sources which may be relevant for secure societies. And I will begin with Everest and NextGEOSS, which are the two Horizon projects in which the European Union Satellite Center is also participating. And Everest is a project which has built a virtual research environment in which scientists, we are representing the land monitoring community, but scientists in general in earth science can build and share knowledge in the form of research objects. And this is one of the good attempts of bringing, putting information out there also for secure societies. And NextGEOSS, you've seen the presentation earlier by Wolfgang. In NextGEOSS, we are working on developing a pilot on security, which is focusing on detecting changes based on open data coming from Sentinel-1. Important for security and highly underutilized are several data sources from either global partnerships or private initiatives. And some of these are, for instance, the GEOSS, the Global Earth Observation System of Systems, exposing its data via the GeoDAB, so the data access broker, the ACLAD, which is an armed conflict location and event data, and this provides a lot of information on dates, actors, types of violence, locations and fatalities, reported political violence and protests in several regions of the world, including Africa, South Asia, and the Middle East. GDELT is a project based on the Google Jigsaw, and their motto is watching the entire world. So it focuses on extracting relevant information mainly from media sources, and it provides a lot of resources, potentially useful resources and relevant resources in terms of news coverage in general, and some very, very useful APIs and resources and open software. Also relevant for the Secure Societies area is the data provided by the International Organization on Migration. And there are several data sources here. For example, the Migration Data Portal and the Missing Migrants Project, which are providing information on the routes, the number of casualties, the countries of departure and the countries of arrival. And they don't really expose their data via APIs, but they do have open WFS endpoints, and the retrieval of data is fairly straightforward. Another good example would be the Uppsala Conflict Data Program, which provides several types and data sets, such as the armed conflict data set, the non-state conflict data set, and one-sided violence data sets. Then there is the Relief Web, which is focusing on the global crisis and disasters information, and it's basically providing humanitarian information. And of course, I left it for last, but not because it's not important, but rather because it's the most known one, and the one that we use most frequently, and that is a Copernicus Access Hub, giving giving Sentinel access to Sentinel data, and we are using, the main source that we're using is the Sentinel-1 and the Sentinel-2. So I will just finish by explaining what we are looking for in the Inspire Hackathon. We're looking for innovative applications in the secure societies area, focusing or using these data sources or other alternative data sources which may be relevant for security. Of course, we are promoting, fostering the use of open APIs. And we would like to see how data sources are combined. For instance, not using just optical or just Copernicus data, but also at least one additional data source with a different format, let's say. So that's it from my side.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anca. And what is striking to me that there seems to be a good common interest between Lorenzino, who wants to have a cross-border and cross-sectoral use of the APIs. It seems that Secure Society would be a case for trying that out. And you provided so many examples of resources. Yes, yeah, Lorenzino, you wanted to say something?
Absolutely. I think we'll add case studies on the EU SAT Center. If Anca agrees, maybe we can fix a call later.
Of course.
Okay, later on. Or we can meet at the Inspire conference.
Yes.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, and congratulations.
Yes. Yes, I think this webinar has been very informative and educational in many ways, and gives a good overview of what is happening right now, and also introducing a very interesting application area. And we hope that will result in some proposals, concrete proposals on the Inspire Hackathon as well. That where teams can form and try to answer the challenges, and using the many resources that we have heard about today. So I don't see any questions here, by the way. Feel free to ask questions still. If not, I will just remind you to fill in the documents and documents for entering the Inspire Hackathon on the Plan for All website, where we have our Hackathon 2018 dedicated page. And we will also post this your presentations on the Inspire Hackathon webpage. We have now from or a comment, I would say, from Marie-Françoise. She is saying that OGC is also very interested in feedback on experiences on all of these aspects. Yes, I think that's a given also, and thank you for saying that, Marie-Françoise. OGC has been mentioned several times, both yesterday and today. So definitely use of technology and so relevant, highly relevant. Marie used to say, we're surprised not to see OGC logo in Karel's presentation. We also support this Inspire Hackathons. Apologies, Marie-Françoise. I think Karel already apologized by saying the slide is getting so full. We are so happy to have so many of you participating in this Inspire Hackathon, which is not an event. It's a movement or a process, as Karel says. We are trying to make it all work together. And this is a calling for all geeks and nerds and experts that love playing with Earth observations, and in particular the APIs at this time. So Andrew is sharing a link with us. Thank you so much. We will include that also on the report page for this webinar. I will ask the presenters now if you have any additional comments that you want to tell the audience before we close the webinar. So Anca, any additional comments?
Well, just that I'm looking forward to see what ideas may come up and to see what other data sources are identified. So good luck to all participants.
Excellent. Yes. And Wolfgang?
Yeah, I found it very interesting, all these new inspiring news from the presentations. So I think we are on a good way to make knowledge management even more useful.
Yes, absolutely. And Lorenzino?
Yeah, I would just to thank you again to give me this possibility. I like a lot the presentations that I saw. And of course, I wish to all the participants to the hackathon very good luck, and to see them all together at the Inspire conference. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Yes. And Andrew, just to take that last comment from Andrew, thank you, Andrew, for engaging. The Building Data Exchange, BDX, is a platform designed to build environment data accessible and available to build environment community. So thank you for that, Andrew. That's also a good piece of information and a resource that our hackers are welcome to use. So with that, thank you for me. A batch of webinars at the end of August. That will be your chance to think of some questions for the presenters. We will have a follow-up on these two webinars that we had yesterday and today. And feel free to comment on our webpage and nudge us on social media. We are on Plan for All, and all the partners, by the way, all the partners of the Inspire Hackathons are available for comments. We are all engaged in this together. And also a reminder, if you're interested in building Earth observations applications, including using APIs, we have a training on NextGEOSS platform in September, on the 11th of September. So that might be also interesting for this community. So why not participate in the Inspire Hackathon and try to start to build an Earth observation application, and then continue with some training in September even before the Inspire Hackathon the week after. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, and hope to see you again in August and definitely at the Inspire conference in September. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.